tailoring shop. And it was in one of the very busy shopping malls. He owned it for several years, and he built it up where it was doing extremely well. Many of the department stores, when they had any tailoring that was very difficult for them to do, they'll always bring it to my friend's place. So the weekly sales kept going up, and one day lease ran out. They had to renew the lease, and the owner of the shopping mall, as they were renewing the lease, requested they open their shop on Sundays. And the reason was all the other stores were opening on Sundays, so you should be open on Sundays as well. But this friend of mine was a devout Christian, and he did not want to open the shop on Sunday because he wanted to go to church and worship the Lord. Now he was at a stage where he had to choose. Do I sign a lease, renew a lease, and open up the store on Sunday, and thus not be able to worship God faithfully on Sundays? Or do I forego the business that he built up for several years? I mean, he was making probably around $200,000-300,000 through the store, so it was a significant amount. So he was in a dilemma. He didn't know what to do, so he took some time to pray about it. He finally decided, my relationship with my Father is more important than the money that I could possibly make from this business in the shopping mall. So he decided not to renew the lease. So basically they kicked him out. He had to vacate the place. And since then he purchased a small tailoring shop out in Long Island that does probably 1/5 of the business that he had. Now, if you're in his shoes, what would you do? Would you go along with the rules of the shopping mall to open up on Sunday and justify yourselves by saying, well, this is the way it is. This is the way things are. I cannot, by myself, close the store when everyone else within the entire shopping mall has to open? Or would you, like my friend, decide to, let go of great amount of money that could be made each and every year? I mean, obviously it's not an easy decision at all. When you're put in such a situation, it's not easy at all. But you know what? As children of God, as believers of Jesus Christ, we ought to live our lives by faith and not by sight. We are called to live differently from the people of the world. We're called to live not based on how much I could make, not based on how comfortable I could be, but rather based on the faith that I have in Jesus Christ, based on God's Word. We are God's children who ought to live by different standards from the world. We read a few verses in chapter 13 where it talks about the separation of Abram and Lot. Now, you remember in chapter 12, God comes to Abram at the age of 75, and he calls him, and as I said before, he probably was an idol maker like his father Terah. He probably was an idol worshiper like his father Terah. But it is God who comes to Abram at the age of 75 and his wife at age 65, who are barren, who are childless, and God comes to Abram and promises him that he'll make him into a great nation, that he'll bless him, that he'll make his name great, that he'll be a blessing to all nations. Everyone on the earth will be blessed through Abram. That's the promise that God gives. But Abram had to abandon everything that he was comfortable with. He had to leave his people, his country, his family, his household. He had to leave everything and follow the leading of God. And amazingly, that's what Abram did. He took everything that he owned and he began to go wherever God was leading him each and every day. And we know that Lot, his nephew, came along. Now, if you just turn back to chapter 12 of Genesis, If you look at verse 8, it says, "From there he went on toward the hills east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord." As he is following the leading of God Almighty, he is building an altar and he is calling on the name of the Lord. He is worshiping God as he is being led by God. Now jump to verse 10. It says, "Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to live there for a while because the famine was severe. As he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, 'I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is his wife. Then they will kill me, but will let you live. Say you are my sister, so that I will be treated well for your sake, and my life will be spared because of you.' When Abram came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that she was a very beautiful woman, and when Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken into his palace. He treated Abram well for her sake, and Abram acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, and manservants and maidservants and camels. But the Lord inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh and his household because of Abram's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh summoned Abram. 'What have you done to me?' he said. 'Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister so that I took her to be my wife? Now then, here is your wife, take her and go.' Then Pharaoh gave orders about Abram to his men, and they sent him on his way with his wife and everything he had." He began his journey with God by building an altar, by calling the name of God Almighty, by worshiping God. But when he was faced with challenges or tough times in Egypt, because of famine, when he was faced with famine, he took his family and went down to Egypt, it says. Now, as we have read verses 10 all the way down to verse 20, nowhere in that section does it say Abram build an altar or call the name of the Lord. There is no place in the entire section where he inquired of God as to what he should do. So we see Abram beginning his walk with God by faith, being very spiritual in that he was building an altar and calling on the name of the Lord, worshiping God. And when he was faced with challenges of not having food enough to eat, he began to operate carnally. He began to operate fleshly. So he saw there was a famine, and he decided, well, we should go to Egypt because there's a plenty of food to eat. And as he is entering Egypt, he's saying to his wife, since you're so beautiful now, you know what the ages are, right? 65 and 75. She was beyond childbearing age already, as Scripture says. So, and yet we're told Sarah was very beautiful. Objectively, everyone agreed. So when they enter into Egypt, Abram says, "Since you're so beautiful, if we introduce ourselves as couples, husband and wife, they'll kill me to take you. So from now on, just tell everybody that we're siblings, that you're my sister." And that's what Abram and Sarah agreed to do, and that's what they did. And as a result, Sarah was taken by Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And it was God who intervened. And as a result, Sarah was sent back to her husband. And in the process, they accumulated great wealth, it says. So go to chapter 13. So Abram went up from Egypt to the Negev with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. Jump down to verse 5. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, it says. Now because they became so wealthy, there was a tension between Abram and his people and Lot and his people. Look at verse 6. But the land could not support them while they stayed together, for their possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together, it says. Now, Abram operated by flesh, by sight, in the second part of chapter 12, but we see Abram returning to God in chapter 13. It seems like he has learned his lesson when he lost his wife to Pharaoh. Because he wanted to save his life, he lied about his relationship to his wife, and as a result, his wife was taken. And after receiving her back, it seems like Abram repented of his sins of lying, and it seems like he returned to God in worshiping, because it says in verse 3, from the Negev he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier, and where he had first built an altar. There Abram called on the name of the Lord. So once again, Abram returns to worshiping God. Once again, Abram returns to building an altar and calling on the name of the Lord. Now jump down to the last verse of chapter 13. And as Abram is moving about from place to place, he arrives at a place called Hebron. Verse 18, so Abram moved his tents and went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he built an altar to the Lord. So it appears that Abram is building an altar and calling on the name of the Lord as he is moving about from place to place. So he has returned to God in his relationship. Now he is walking by faith. So when tension arises between their servants, the solution Abram proposes is that they separate. Verse 7, look at verse 7. And quarreling arose between Abram's herdsmen and the herdsmen of Lot. The Canaanites and Perizzites were also living in the land at that time. So Abram said to Lot, let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herdsmen and mine, for we are brothers. Is not the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left. Now, as Abram is walking by faith, as Abram is restored in his relationship to God, he is allowing Lot to choose which land to take. Now, you know that Lot is a nephew of Abraham. So Abraham had the right to choose any land so he desired. And also, you remember, it is God who promised Abraham a land that he will give for him and his descendants forever. And yet, Abraham is giving Lot the opportunity to choose for himself. So verse 10, it says, Lot looked up and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt towards Zoar. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men parted company. Now here's a definite distinction, definite difference between these two men. Abraham is operating by faith, whereas Lot is operating by sight. Abraham is trusting and believing that God will bless him wherever God takes him, whereas Lot is looking up and seeing which land is well watered for his cattle, for his herdsmen. So he chooses for himself what it appears to be great for his cattle, for his people. So he's thinking of himself. He's thinking of the benefits that he'll reap by choosing well-watered land. So they part company. Now, if you jump down to verse 14, after they part company, God comes to Abram and God speaks to Abram, reassuring the promise that he made to him in chapter 12. The Lord said to Abram after Lot had parted from him, lift up your eyes from where you are and look north and south, east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever, it says. I'll make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be recounted. Go walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you. So Abram moved his tents and went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he built an altar to the Lord. Now you notice the difference between Lot and Abram. When Lot looked up, he saw for himself well-watered land. He saw for himself what would benefit him and his people. Whereas to Abram, God tells him to look up. And wherever you see north, south, east, west, wherever you see, everything that you see, I will give it to you and your offspring forever. And God once again reassures Abram, who is childless, that you will have so many descendants who will be like the dust of the earth. I will bless you abundantly. Now, brothers and sisters, as we live our lives, we need to remember that we are children of God who ought to be walking by faith, who ought to be living by faith, not by sight. So in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7, it says, "For we walk by faith, not by sight." But the sad reality of many believers in our generation is that rather than walking by faith in God, too many believers are walking by sight. Too many believers are walking by calculations that they have, walking by what will benefit me the most. And yet the Bible clearly teaches that we are not to walk by sight, but rather we ought to be walking by faith. So in the book of Habakkuk chapter 2 it says, "Behold, his soul is puffed up, it is not upright within him, but the righteous shall live by his faith." Those who believe in Jesus Christ, those who have been made righteous by God's grace, ought to live by his faith each and every day. In Galatians 2:20 says, "I've been crucified with Christ, it is no longer I live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me." Now, Hebrews 11:6, it says, "It is impossible to please God without faith." You have to live by faith if you're going to please the Lord, if you're going to glorify God. We have to believe that God rewards those who seek him. We have to believe that God delivers on all his promises as he had been faithful to deliver on his promise to Abram and to every individual, every believer in the Bible. So we ought to be living day by day. We have to be walking by faith, because Romans 14:21 it says, "Anything done without faith is sin," it says. So everything that we do, everything that we think, everything that we decide must be done by faith. Faith in God Almighty, faith in Jesus Christ. Everything has to be done by faith, that we may walk by faith. And notice now, Abram, when he was having trouble with his nephew's herdsman and his herdsman, what does he choose? He chooses to function as peacemaker. He chooses peace rather than profit. He says, well, you choose. We'll separate. You choose whatever land you want to go to, and I'll go exactly the opposite direction. We have to remember, God's economy, biblical economy, is different than the world economy. The world that we live in says, well, do whatever, anything possible, anything that is possible in your disposal to make as much as you want. But God says no. God says, as children of God, we must live by God's word. We must live by and operate within God's word. Brothers and sisters, one of these days when time comes for all of us, we'll have to leave everything. When God calls return to our eternal dwelling place. And when we do, we will not take anything from this world. Naked we came, naked we shall depart, it says. We didn't come into the world with our hands filled with something. We came with open hands, and when we leave and depart this world, we will leave with open hands as well. And as we live each day, we have to be committed to be living this day by faith, trusting in God, wherever He leads, wherever He tells us to do. Living in obedience that God may be glorified. Living in obedience that we may enjoy God's blessings that He has in store for each and every one of us.